Hello, 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 and welcome to the College of Creation. My name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And we are Dungeons & Dragons DMs who love to homebrew items, spells, creatures, and features for D&D. And this is a show where we make brand new homebrew every single week based on prompts that we get from our listeners and our community. We make all kinds of things here on this podcast. New homebrew for you to use, or maybe don't use it yet because it's not actually ready. But regardless of whether or not it's complete or functional, we still make it
every week.
And we present to each other. And we give each other tips and tricks on how we can improve what we've made. And yeah, just try and delight each other. And this week it should be an easy task to delight each other because we were tasked with making something quite delightful just on its face, which is something made out of cotton candy.
Yeah.
Anything made out of cotton candy at all.
I must say, I made one thing that was made out of cotton candy. And then I made some other things that are not made of cotton candy.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest.
Still
this
within
was
the realm of candy.
Yes. This was always going to be a prompt
tough one.
That was going to be more about using that as an inspiration and starting point.
Yep.
But we talked about a couple of things at the end of last week, like what could be made out of cotton candy, or the context of cotton candy, I guess, a little bit. Because I said something about a bastion, and you said something about like confectionery room, which I don't know. My brain went down a rabbit hole of like, what if you had just a carnival inside of your bastion, just like with carnival food, because cotton candy is, I think that's what I think is cotton candy. That's top tier amusement park food.
I agree with that.
This is unrelated to anything whatsoever. Michael, what's the carnival food?
Soft pretzels.
Ooh, wow! You were quick on that. It was very fast.
I would live and die for a jumbo soft pretzel. I don't even need cheese. I very rarely eat soft pretzels with the side that they deliver them with. I'm a big fan of bread in general, but like a nice pretzel bread that's perfectly salted, man.
So are you rocking down to the mall every once in a while to get an Annie Ann's or a Wetzel's?
There's a very good ice cream shop right down the road that serves choice soft pretzels, and not every time I'm there, but whenever I'm allowed to loosen the purse strings a little bit, I'll indulge in a soft pretzel. What about you?
So you're not a like sweet treat at the carnival guy.
Not really.
You're going for the salty bread.
Salty bread for sure. If
salty
I have
bread,
a choice,
maybe cheese.
Maybe it's just dough that I like, because I'll also go for like an elephant ear. I'll go for an elephant ear.
An elephant ear. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, elephant ear, great. I think almost the same as a funnel cake, which is my go-to.
Very similar.
It's just like fried
Very
dough,
similar.
just in a slightly different shape.
I think the only difference, right, is the elephant ear is a piece of dough before it's fried, and the funnel cake is they pipe the dough into.
You pipe it in and it fries as soon as it hits the oil. I think the elephant ear
basically
is
the
one
same
whole
taste.
slab that gets fried,
Right.
basically into, but it tastes almost identical.
Yeah, so good.
Especially
the
if you
sugar
cover it with
cinnamon
enough,
combination.
Yeah, powdered sugar and cinnamon, and maybe a strawberry sauce if you're really feeling it.
Yeah.
yeah. I go in for that for sure. Not so much like a snow cone guy.
No. I'm of the mind I usually don't even get ice when I get drinks, because I like to savor drinks over a long period of time, and the more ice that's in my drink, the more watered down it gets over the period of my stay at the carnival. And generally anything that is flavoring and ice, I will avoid.
Yeah. You know, out east they call it a water ice.
A water ice, yeah. That's like around Boston, right?
I think it's around like Philadelphia, but that's neither here nor there. It's some sort of confection made of flavored sugary sauce and shaved
very
ice.
Specific though, right? It's not just a shaved ice with
It is.
flavoring.
It's a little bit different. It's apparently smoother than a typical shaved ice.
Right. It's more like
situation.
a shaved custard, like more custard based. I've never had water ice, but I would like to try it.
I would like to try just about everything, but it does immediately strike me as something that I probably wouldn't love that much, for similar reasons to you. That like ice just isn't it for me.
I think other than making things colder, it has no positive benefit. For my liking.
I mean, we don't need to get into a whole thing and get roasted online for our dislike of ice. That's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about a different carnival treat, which is cotton candy, which I do enjoy. It's good ballpark stuff. It's good carnival stuff. I definitely didn't stick with cotton candy entirely. But it was definitely more of a jumping off point for me in this space. But I really liked that we were not told what to make, just something.
Anything.
I'm really thrilled to see what you ended up actually making, because I think that's really open. And I ended up making two different kinds of things.
I went first last week. I would love to see what you have come to present today.
Amazing. I have made for you sort of a set of items and a single creature.
Okay.
So if you'd open up your document here to see these curious confections. Thinking about candy, thinking about sweets, and thinking about treats and confections and things like that immediately puts me in mind of Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
A classic film from my childhood is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I think that Gene Wilder's portrayal of Willy Wonka is one of the greatest things in the world, because he's exactly the right amount of sinister. Because Willy Wonka is actually kind of a terrifying human being.
For sure. Chaotic evil, no doubt.
Yeah. Really wild stuff. Anyway, that then is like, okay, if there is a proper manifestation of candy plus like magic, that's Willy Wonka for sure. So let's go like think about some things that are Wonka-esque, at least, that we can build into D&D. So these are curious confections. It's a set of items. This could easily be expanded upon because I am who I am. Curious confections are unique sweets created through various enchantments applied throughout the candy-making process. Few wizards, bakers, or chocolatiers know the true secrets of these special treats, making them truly sought-after delights for children and adults alike. The following table lists the known varieties of curious confections and their magical effects. So we have the Eternal Jawbreakers. This hard candy never gets any smaller or loses its flavor. A creature with one of these candies in its mouth cannot cast spells that require verbal components, but cannot be put to sleep by magical means. Then we have the Gratifying Gum. This chewing gum gives the taste and feeling of a full meal. A single piece of gum provides as much nourishment as 1 day of rations. We also have the Popping Pellets. These tablet candies come in a variety of fizzy flavors. A creature that eats one of these candies must make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or be pushed backward 15 feet and fall prone. It just kind of like explodes in your mouth and sends you flying.
Yeah.
Then we have the actual cotton candy piece, the Cotton Cloud Candy. This fluffy treat is incredibly light and airy. Any creature who eats a portion suddenly comes under the effects of the Levitate spell for its full duration.
Perfect.
Then we have the Rainbow Drops. These multicolored gummies allow any creature who consumes one to use its action within the next 1 minute to breathe harmless colored flame from its mouth. And then the Luminous Lollies. One of these swirled lollipops emits bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet while a creature is licking it.
Nice.
So as you actively are licking it, it emits light.
These are all very fun. I love that they're not all like mechanically affecting on the surface. I love the rainbow drops that just make you spit out rainbow fire.
Rainbow fire?
And I think that it's really funny that it's harmless.
Yeah.
Because it's less evocative and more like illusory at that point. So you use
pretty
it
much
to assist in intimidation or persuasion or some type of falsification, gaslighting of of another creature.
Who knows?
I think that is very funny and very Willy Wonka. And yes, in true Dan fashion, you could throw this out into the world and ask for additions and get 100 different ones back.
Yeah, you could easily get a D100 table.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Just like little minor magical effects that are barely useful at all.
Right.
Generally consumable. I think the Eternal Jawbreaker, it is arguable whether that's consumable or not, but
It never gets any smaller. Well, at least it doesn't get bigger. So you could just...
No, it just
it is
stays
not
the same
consumable,
size.
but it's not. Yeah.
But it also doesn't do all that much.
Right. Yeah,
It's not. It's just a piece of candy. You can't cast verbal spells, but you also can't be put to sleep by non-magical means. Anyway, then I made the Candyman, which also feels incomplete, I should say. This doesn't feel like it's all the way done.
Okay.
But I'll get into it.
Yeah, let's go through it.
The Candyman is just a man made of candy. Candyman is a medium construct. It is unaligned, as constructs ought to be. It has an AC of 13, 16 in hard candy form. It's got 52 hit points. It has a speed of 30 feet, but it has a fly speed of 30 feet in cotton candy form. Strength 16, Dex 13, Constitution 14, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 12, and Charisma is 22. That's the big beefy part here. It has resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And it has immunity to psychic damage, as well as the charmed, exhausted, and frightened conditions. And it can speak and understand common. It has an aversion to water trait. If the Candyman is submerged or doused in water, or I suppose if you're using the full College of Creation set, if it takes water damage, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. It also, though, has a charming presence. Any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet of the Candyman must make a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or become charmed by the Candyman for 1 minute. A creature can repeat this saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. These are so cute and tasty. Just so cute and delicious.
There's no way you could hurt me.
No.
You're just a piece of chocolate.
He's candy. He also has an immutable form, which they changed the wording of immutable form, which I feel like makes it less clear than it was before somehow. I don't know if you've seen this in the new constructs. It just says the Candyman cannot shapeshift. It was like, well, what if he wants to shapeshift, though? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mostly I changed the wording to the Candyman can't be shapeshifted against its will because this one specifically has a shapeshifting feature, which I'll get into in a minute.
Can't be shapeshifted. Disregard the bonus action altogether.
Disregard everything that I made here. So it has a multi-attack. It makes 2 sweet tooth attacks. It is +5 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 15 feet in taffy form. 1 target, it hits for 1d8 plus 3, and adds an additional 1d8 cold damage in peppermint candy form.
Nice.
So its bonus action is that it can shift form. The Candyman turns itself into another candy form, either cotton candy, hard candy, peppermint candy, or taffy. And all of those bonuses are contained within the character sheet here, or the monster character sheet here. But with cotton candy, it can fly. With hard candy, it gets a bonus to AC. As peppermint candy, it deals extra cold damage. And as taffy, it gains an additional reach. I think the thing that I want to add is specific other actions or like one other feature for each type of candy, or possibly add another 1 or 2 candy types that it can turn into. I don't know. Hard to say.
I don't know. I like it a lot, though. It's really funny. I think it's so funny that the charisma is so high.
It's very charismatic.
It's such a funny creature. Yeah, I would love to run this right now. I want to put it into a game immediately.
I'm also like looking back at it now, I'm thinking maybe this would actually be something that I could expand out, and instead of having them be things that can shift form, I think this is the kind of thing that like maybe make a different creature entirely that then can summon or create Candymen, and can summon or create
Yeah.
certain forms of it, right? Very much similar to
Yeah.
like they do like the conjure animal or the like summon beast now, and it's
Yeah.
like choose an air beast, a water beast, or a land beast, and it kind of has that same vibe of like. Which type of candy are you summoning? Maybe this is also a spell. Maybe this is a
Summon
maybe
Candyman.
this is a stat block that goes into a summon Candyman spell.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Now I feel like I have to redo this whole thing. Let's just make this. I have landed inadvertently onto our next project that we're never going to get around to because we haven't gotten around to the previous 3 projects that we've proposed.
Yeah.
But like we should also make a setting book for a candy world.
Yeah. we have to create our adventure for Arcanotech Industries. Yep. We have to circle back to the paintings that are tied to emotions.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
We have to do another 3-in-1 shot where you give me all the specifics and I DM for you. And now,
oh my goodness, that's right.
Candy.
We didn't do another one of those.
Candy resource. We need a candy resource book.
Ugh. Wow,
a lot of stuff on the table.
Oh my goodness. Well, yes, this is what I came up with for now.
This is great.
And it's certain to change in the future and certain to be expanded upon.
It's such a funny concept.
I enjoyed
really
this
good.
a lot.
Yeah. And true to your inspiration, I think this fits very well within the very dark world of Willy Wonka. I think it just is so good where like setting foot inside of that factory almost ensures that you have very little time left.
Yeah.
Like it's actively dangerous to even go inside, and it's going to be the funniest set of consequences ever. I like it.
Yeah.
Great.
Delightful. All right, Michael, what do you got?
I also made a monster. I made a stat
Nice.
block, but I also came to the table with 2 other things, other types of things that you did not make.
Exciting.
If you would please open your document. We'll start with the monster. This is the first thing that I made. I had a lot of ideas this week. I pared them down to 3, but originally I was shooting all over the map, trying to figure out where the ideas should fall, what types of things I should make. So I did land on a creature to start.
Okay.
I call this Fairy Floss, which is an alternate name for cotton candy.
I love it.
Just like yours, this is a medium construct. I said that this actually has any good alignment. It is an inherently good, happy, floating creature. Has an AC of 12, 54 hit points, which is strangely close to the amount of hit points you came up with on the spot for yours. 30 feet of movement speed. Very low stats. Mm-hmm. Nothing above a 13, which is the highest one that is their dexterity. But it is immune to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, as well as poison and psychic damage, and it is vulnerable to water damage, as you mentioned for your candy creations.
Love it.
Moving on to the traits. This is, most importantly, a mythic creature.
Okay.
So this is the mythic trait for the
Love
Fairy
that.
Floss. It's called Aqueous Survival. If the Fairy Floss is reduced to 0 hit points, it doesn't die or fall unconscious. Instead, it regains hit points up to a new total of 75. So it gets more hit points when it drops to 0.
Okay.
Its creature type changes to ooze. Its speed is reduced to 15 feet. It gains a +6 bonus to its strength and constitution scores, lifting them to 16 and 18 respectively. And it loses one of its following traits and gains a different one. So I will talk about that in a second. So it effectively changes from a light, airy construct to an aquatic liquid ooze.
Love that. I think that's very, very funny.
Thank you. The next trait is called Fragile Crystals. Water damage is 3 times effective against the Fairy Floss. So it's not just vulnerable.
Okay.
It is
Triple vulnerable
effective.
Or whatever. Super effective, yes.
Anyone that has ever accidentally put cotton candy into, underneath, within water dissolves immediately. So I said that it is not just standard vulnerability, it is hyper vulnerable. Then the next 2 traits are dictated by the form that it takes. So if it is a construct, so the light, airy Fairy Floss, it has the light as air trait. Fairy Floss only descends 10 feet per round instead of 60 while falling, and is immune to fall damage. It doesn't have a fly speed, but it can move 10 feet in any direction for every 10 feet it descends while it's in the air. So it essentially can just kind of hover around as it's falling instead of just falling straight down. In the ooze form only, it has the liquid sugar trait. Okay. As it moves, the Fairy Floss leaves behind a trail of sticky residue. Any creature that walks across it must make a DC 14 Dex saving throw, or its speed is reduced to 0, and it is restrained until the end of its next turn. So it just always leaves sugar wherever it goes, wherever it travels.
I like it.
It has a multi-attack. The Fairy Floss makes 2 Sugar Threads attacks. Sugary Threads is the construct attack. It's just a basic melee attack that deals slashing damage. But if its mythic action is enacted, it has a Caramel Launcher attack, which is a ranged bludgeoning and water damage attack. Nice. If the target of this attack is medium or smaller, it has the restrained condition with an escape DC of 13. So it just kind of launches a piece of itself at you, essentially.
Yep. And
the mythic action. If the Fairy Floss's Aqueous Survival trait is active, it can use the following legendary action once per round. It is called Engulf. The Fairy Floss moves up to its speed towards a medium or smaller creature and attempts to engulf them. Prompts a strength save of DC 14. On a failed save, the target is grappled and restrained, and at the start of each of its subsequent turns, takes 10 water damage. Ooh. The target can remake the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If a creature is reduced to 0 hit points while engulfed, it is dissolved, and the Fairy Floss grows by 1 size category.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
And now keep in mind, these are all inherently good creatures.
Right.
So this, if it plays out the way that it should, I would hope that you're not sending a bunch of these creatures out actively trying to attack your party.
Right.
It'd be more of like a defensive, kind of like primal protective type of deal. If you reduce one of these things to 0 hit points. But yeah, that is the Fairy Floss. I have another Fairy Floss stat block just below this.
Okay.
Which I would like to circle back to in a little bit. It's very, very similar, contains a lot of the same deals, but we're going to come back to it in a second.
Okay.
Moving on to my second page here, I made a playable species.
Ooh, I love that. We haven't done enough of those.
Not any. I looked back through all of our episodes.
We haven't done any of those?
I have not done a single playable species in 56 episodes now. It's never come up.
Hey, gang. Hey, listener. Just real quick pause. Hey, we need your prompts. Specifically, it sounds like we need your prompts for playable species. Please send them to us. You can reach us at collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com, or you can go over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/collegeofcreationpod. Send us your ideas there. Join at the free tier. See all the good stuff that we've made up to this point. And yeah, give us your prompts for playable species. Okay, that's all. Continue, Michael.
So this is a playable species. I call it the Fructosian.
Love it.
based off of fructose, which is one of the three main versions of sugar. Fructose is the most naturally occurring sugar. It's often found in fruits, honeys, tree saps, things like that. But that really doesn't apply.
Yeah.
I liked the word fructosian better than suctosian or gluctosian. Both of those sounded worse. So this is
fair.
the fructosian.
This one does sound best. That is very fair.
Of the three, this is the best option. Fructosians are constructs created from inanimate desserts. They're typically characterized by their shape, components, flavor profile, and the relationship, or lack thereof, maintained with the one who created them. Many personality traits, such as temperament, problem-solving skills, and adaptability, can be tied back to those characterizations. All fructosians are made by weaving some level of sweetness together with auxiliary flavors and bringing them to life with strands of arcane energy. While some outliers exist, the vast majority of fructosians are placed within the following 4 flavor profiles. They can be fruity, made up of coconut clusters, chocolate-covered cherries, or other naturally occurring sweets. Fructosians of this profile are often followed by a swarm of insects, looking to feast on their thick, seeded flesh. Typically tougher than the other profiles, fruit-based fructosians typically despise their creators.
Okay.
The second type is the savory profile, made up of holiday breads, candied bugs, peanut butter cups, or other semi-sweet morsels. Savory fructosians have strained but symbiotic relationships with their creators, often defying them purposefully. These creatures tend not to like environments with high levels of heat or humidity. Then the third profile is the sour fructosian, made up of hyper-sweet candy such as taffy or rock sugar and covered with a healthy coating of sour powder or liquid. Sour fructosians often carry an outwardly despondent demeanor, while actually being quite charming and hopeful. They typically try their hardest to stay within the good graces of their creator and set high goals for themselves. And the fourth and final flavor profile, this is spicy, made up of candied chilies, cinnamon gummies, or other Scoville-adjacent confections. Spicy fructosians differ from other profiles in the sense that they often choose to separate themselves completely from their creator and blaze their own path forward. It is common to see these creatures fighting for the equal treatment of physically non-humanoid species.
Okay.
So those are the 4 that I've come up with. This is very analogous to like the tiefling species, how you can kind of differentiate between lineages for tieflings.
Right.
These are all based on flavor. So we get into the fructosian traits here on the right. It is a construct as the creature type. They can be medium or small, chosen when you select the species, and their speed is inherently 30 feet. They have an inorganic form. They don't need to eat, drink, or breathe to live. They have their flavor profile, which grants some spells, some resistances, and a little bonus to specific saving throws, which I'll get to in a second. They have a sweet skin feature. Any creature that grapples you or hits you with a melee attack must succeed on a DC 12 con save or gain a condition that is also a part of the table that I have just below. That condition is gained for 1 minute. An affected creature no longer in direct contact with you can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. So I have a table just below this that kind of details all of these in a condensed manner. So if you choose the fruity flavor profile, you have resistance to poison damage, a +1 to strength saving throws, and you also know the infestation cantrip, because you always have bugs around you. At level 5, you learn the Bark Skin spell, and you can cast that once per long rest. And the condition is doused. If you get hit or grappled, you can douse the creature if they fail that save. For the savory profile, you have resistance to lightning damage, +1 to con saves, and you know the Thunderclap cantrip. You also learn Lesser Restoration at level 5, and the condition that is granted is the Bleeding condition, another one of my extra conditions that I made a few weeks back. For the sour profile, you have resistance to acid damage, +1 to dex saves, and acid splash. You also learn mind spike at level 5. If you're so sour that it hurts your teeth, it hurts your brain, you're sucking on a warhead or something. And then the condition is poisoned for the sour flavor profile. And finally, the spicy flavor profile. You have resistance to cold damage, +1 to charisma saves. And you also know the control flames cantrip.
Cool.
At level 5, you learn pyrotechnics, and the condition is burned. So that is the playable species, the Fructosian.
I like it.
It's a little bit another option if you don't want to play a humanoid, if you want to play a construct, but you don't want to be a robot.
Yeah.
You can instead be candy.
A weird little sugar guy.
Yeah. And then the last thing I made is a subclass. I also made a subclass.
Oh, okay.
I gave a lot of heat to the wizards last week. I still don't love wizards, but it fit the best for what I was trying to do. So this is the confectioner wizard.
Okay, I like it.
A master of the arcane confection and satiator of the mystical sweet tooth, you seek to dust the world with a little bit of magical sugar. You specialize in both explosive flavor and explosive power, sometimes conflating the two. Infusing spices, stretching candy canes, crystallization of sugar, and whipping cotton candy, many other skills are made use of within your candy shop. These same skills, however, make for creative methods to survive the dangers of the world. So level 3, we start out with the hot candy feature. You choose 2 wizard spells that deal elemental damage, each of which must be no higher than level 2, and add them to your spellbook for free. In addition, whenever you gain access to a new level of spell slots in this class, you can add 1 wizard spell that deals elemental damage to your spellbook for free. Regardless of their typical damage type, all spells chosen through this feature deal fire damage when you cast them. So you can pick any elemental spell, they all deal fire damage for you.
Gotcha.
Also at level 3, you gain the sweet candy feature. You can create confections on the spot to aid you. You can take 1 minute to conjure a fairy floss construct in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you.
Great.
So if we want to scroll up quickly, the fairy floss familiar stat block is much smaller. It also uses the player's proficiency bonus in a lot of different places. So it still has the vulnerability to water, immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, poison, and psychic, but it only has the construct features. So it does not have any of the mythical traits. It's not nearly as strong. Its AC and its HP are based off of the player instead of itself as a creature.
Cool.
So you can create a fairy floss construct in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. You can't have more than 1 fairy floss active at a time. The fairy floss familiar stat block, which uses your proficiency bonus in several places, is listed above.
Nice.
This creature will follow basic commands and will take the disengage or dash action to avoid danger out of combat if not instructed to do otherwise. In combat, the fairy floss shares your initiative count and can take its turn either just before or immediately after yours. Fairy floss will stay active until you finish a long rest, you begin conjuring a new one, or it drops to 0 hit points. You can conjure a fairy floss a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. Level 6, hard candy. Protected by rock hard sugar, your armor class increases by 1.
Nice.
You also gain an additional +1 bonus to your armor class for each fairy floss familiar you have active and within 30 feet of you.
Cool.
At level 10, you gain the pulled candy feature. In the candy shop, range of motion matters. On the battlefield, it matters even more. The range of all spells in your spellbook, other than those with a range of self and touch, is increased by 10 times your proficiency bonus. These spells can also originate from a fairy floss familiar if you have one active. Additionally, when you affect another creature with a ranged spell, you can choose to pull that creature towards you up to half of your movement. This movement does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So if you hit someone, you can drag them closer to you if you'd like.
Okay.
And at level 14, the capstone. This is just called more candy. You can make more candy and do it faster. Conjuring a fairy floss familiar now uses an action instead of 1 minute to complete. When you conjure a fairy floss familiar, you can choose to instead conjure 2. You can have no more than 2 active at one time.
Fun.
Yeah.
Just summon some little candy guys. I like it.
Summon some little candy guys.
Very, very fun. Very silly stuff.
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Thanks, man.
I like playable species. That's fun. And yeah, like hyper unique, super conceptual subclasses is a good move. I don't make enough of those, but I like them.
You gotta go hyper unique sometimes.
Hyper specific, super high concept subclasses.
Yeah.
That really only fit into like one setting or might only work in a one shot here and there. But it's great. I love it. Very enjoyable. Yeah, I love these prompts that just like they can be anything. They're just a little weird and can be anything. Those are top tier prompts. You heard that, folks? You heard that? The top tier prompts? Good. I expect a lot of good playable species prompts in that style.
Yeah.
Please and thank you. I'm glad that we also went in very different directions here, for sure.
Yeah.
Didn't make any of the same things. That's another one of the great things about prompts like this.
Yeah.
They definitely don't lend themselves quite as much to crossover, I
had a moment in the middle of this week. I had this very intense thought that just popped into my brain, and I was like, Dan's going to do something exactly like this. Cotton candy is not that broad. Like candy in general is not that broad. You have to steer in a weirder direction. You have to go in a weirder direction. And I didn't because I couldn't figure it out. Mm-hmm. I didn't have enough time to go truly in a different direction. But I was like, oh no, we're going to make identical things this week. And I'm glad that we didn't do that. I'm glad that we avoided that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Great stuff all around. I really like your item. I really like it a lot.
I'm definitely that's going into the large document that everyone should have. By the way, everyone should have a large document of if there's a festival in town or if there's a market. Who's around and what weird things are they selling? Because your party doesn't want to go through that market or that like festival day and just see like regular items to buy. No. You got to show them weird stuff.
Yeah.
They want to find the weird stuff and like the weird super hyper specific merchant that only comes around like 2 times a year and has like unique wares from somewhere else in the world and only makes like one kind of thing. Have a list. Figure out what the scrimshaw guy who comes to town twice a year is selling.
Yeah.
Have that in the list. Now you've got a confectioner. Have that. Mm-hmm. Have somebody who makes like really specific hats. That's it. Your party will love that too.
Even if they don't do anything, a funny hat goes a long way.
Yeah.
Funny hat goes a long way.
Be like, cool, there are hats here. What kind of hat would your character wear if they wore a hat? And then you get somebody who's like, oh,
mechanical benefit.
Wait.
Yeah.
I do need to think about this, and I need an answer for this.
Yeah.
Do they have a dragonborn size pork pie hat? Because that's me.
Actually, sir, I've been carrying this around for months, searching for someone whose head is as large as yours.
Excellent stuff. So yes, everyone should have a list like this, and I would encourage you to put these confections into that list.
100%.
Your players will just have a delightful time being like, I put that in my mouth. What does it do?
Oh, you spit out harmless flames.
Harmless purple fire exudes from your mouth. Then they're like, yes, I will take 15, please.
And stuff like that is the perfect avenue to introduce homebrew that might not even be complete. Because half of the people that are selling stuff at carnivals are not FDA approved, right?
No.
They have not gone through the scrutiny of food and drug inspection.
Yeah.
So you could put homebrew stuff into a carnival that is not perfect or even good.
Yeah.
Not balanced at all. Just give it to them and make sure that it's consumable. And then if it doesn't work or if it's wildly powerful or not powerful, it's great. They already used it, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, you eat that. Roll a d20. On any result other than a 20, you are poisoned for an hour. On a 20, though, you gain some sort of godlike power. It's a real crapshoot.
You gain a 300-foot fly speed, and you're invulnerable to these 6 damage types.
For 30 seconds.
And then you have 5 levels of exhaustion when you come out of it.
Oh, my goodness.
Just really intense back and forth.
Real stupid. That's the real story here. Just get a little stupid with your party. It's fine. Your homebrew doesn't have to be perfect. Well, Michael, shall we decide what we're going to make next time instead of just proposing more things that we could have made for this time?
Correct. I told you, man, I had a lot of ideas that I pared down for this episode.
No, it was very fun. I will pull up our big list of homebrew prompts. As previously mentioned, we have a big D20 list, and we need more. So please do send them to us. That is collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com. Michael, what do you got for me?
Dan, that is a natural 20.
Ooh, okay. Going all the way down to the bottom of the list to see a subclass.
Ooh.
And it is a healing-based wizard subclass.
I knew I shouldn't have done that this week.
You made a wizard.
2 wizards.
Two wizards in a row, I'm afraid. 2 wizards in a row, I'm afraid.
That's
but it's
all
a very
right.
different wizard. A very different...
Incredibly different.
Sort of wizard.
So we have notably lots of clerics, because healing is kind of baked into their class, right?
Yep.
Things like Twilight Domain, things like Life Domain that are exceptional healers. Mm-hmm. There are a few bards that are very good healers as kind of battlefield assistants with the use of their bardic inspiration.
There's some druids that have some reasonable healing capabilities.
Druids. Where does the room open up for a class that is not known for healing? The question for next week is going to be, what justifies someone to pick a wizard based on healing properties? Because wizards are usually chosen for utility, for high damage output, for high versatility, all of the high magic things, the most extensive spell list in the game, the most extensive list of abilities in general, kind of. Especially if you go like blade singing, you can get into a lot of martial tactics as well. Really, the one thing that's missing is a focus on healing. Obviously, they can do it, but what is going to make a player choose the healer wizard over any of the other options?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, maybe it would help to like look to the Celestial Warlock.
Yeah.
Which similarly is the Warlock is much more a class that focuses on hyper versatility, hyper customizability, utility, and really checking a lot of the boxes. And Celestial Warlock adds the avenue for of a specific type of healing that it does. And it doesn't exactly capture healing as the cleric does it.
Yeah.
But does fill that role if that role is necessary, right? So
yeah,
maybe we'll need to look into that and see what that looks like. Similarly, I think
something like that. Yeah.
The
Divine Soul
Sorcerer might also be something to look at. Because I think Grace has identified a little gap here, which is interesting. Worth thinking about what that looks like, I think.
So we just talked about hit points a couple weeks ago. The features that helped heal, and we talked a little bit about what constitutes as health. Like, are you talking about like the restoration and draining of ability scores, like in the vein of like a shadow draining strength?
Right.
Are you talking about exhaustion? Are you talking about buffing against different conditions that might lead to the furthering of hit point loss? that could be one angle too. I think there are a lot of ways that you can interpret, especially for a wizard that has so much versatility baked in as far as a spellcaster goes. Maybe not as much versatility from a base class, because that's kind of scant. You have your spell restoration, you can sculpt spells, and that's almost it.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of left up to the player to decide which spells they pick.
Yeah.
Healing is an interesting avenue to go down as a wizard. So I'm pumped to see what you come up with next week.
Same.
I have no idea. I have no idea which way I'm going to go. But we will see. We will see.
Indeed. It should be interesting. I'm sure you will come up with something that one of us enjoys.
Maybe I'll come up with something that you like and I deeply dislike.
That definitely has happened before. But we'll have to see. Until then, folks, we'll talk to you later. Michael, do you have anything to say to the people before we say goodbye?
Dan, I always have something to say to the people before we say goodbye. Just a reiteration of what Dan said before, because it cannot be overstated enough. Please find stupid ideas and capitalize on them. Run with them. Make a carnival with a hat salesman that specializes in Dragonborn fitted hats. Do that. Some of the most serious and emotional and gritty things that I've tried to put into my games will land, but aren't memorable. They're nice and affecting and very cool in the moment. But the things that stand the test of time, the things that years afterwards we still talk about, are the things that are crazy and dumb and sometimes come into the game in the moment as certifiable bad ideas that the players or me as a DM say, no. Nope, we're going to keep going with that bad idea until it turns into a good idea. So do that. Let yourself do that. It will pay off extremely well.
Yep. Stupidity is our bread and butter. I would absolutely encourage it. Lean into that a little bit whenever you have the opportunity. Michael, thanks so much for creating. Thanks so much for all your time today.
Of course.
Until next time, all of you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Goodbye.